The sickness came quietly. That was the worst part. No omens. No crows screaming. No blood-red moons or storms splitting the sky. It came like a hand laid gently over a mouth, pressing just hard enough that by the time the village noticed, it was already too late. Devon first understood something was wrong when his little brother stopped humming. Alric, 7 winters old, born different, born soft-eyed and distant, hummed when the world felt safe. He hummed when the fire crackled just right, when their mother brushed his hair, when Devon carried him on his shoulders to the edge of the fields where the trees bent low and whispered. That morning, Alric sat curled near the hearth, knees to chest, lips parted, silent. Devon paused in the doorway, burden basket still slung over his back. "Ollie," he said softly. Alric did not look up. The firelight danced across his pale skin. Too pale. His lips were faintly blue, like bruised fruit. His chest rattled when he breathed. Their mother, Elson, sat beside him with a cloth in her hands. She had pressed it so often to Alric's forehead that the fabric had gone stiff with dried sweat. "He hasn't slept," she whispered, not looking at Devon. "He won't drink." Devon knelt, setting aside his basket. He reached out, but stopped short of touching his brother. Alric startled at even the suggestion of movement. "That's not like him." "No," their mother swallowed. "It's not." That night, Devon's father began coughing up something black. By dawn, Devon's little sister Mara, only 4 summers old, burned with fever and cried until her voice broke into hoarse whimpers. By the second night, the sickness had claimed the whole house. And the sickness had rules. It did not behave like rot fever or swamp lung. There were no rashes. No sores. No bleeding gums. Only cold skin, shallow breath, and a creeping stillness, as if something invisible were slowly tightening inside the body. The village healer, old Bryn, came before the sun set on the second day. She knelt by the hearth, her fingers trembling as she checked pulses. When she stood again, her face was ash-white. "This is not a sickness born here," she said quietly. "What do you mean?" Devon asked. Bryn's eyes avoided his. "I mean it's hungry." Silence swallowed the hut. Devon's father, Halvor, lay wrapped in furs near the wall. His breathing rasped, every inhale sounding borrowed. Elson hadn't left Mara's side in hours, and Alric stared at the fire like something inside it was calling to him. "How long?" Devon asked. Bryn hesitated. 3 days, she said at last. 4, if the gods show mercy. Devon felt something cleave open in his chest, but his voice stayed steady. "What do we do?" Bryn hesitated again. "There is medicine," she said. "Real medicine. Old medicine. From before our grandfathers' grandfathers." "Where?" She exhaled. 200 miles east. Past the Blackwood. Past the Bone Valleys. There is a stone village built by people who remembered things we have forgotten. 200 miles. Devon's stomach sank. "No one survives the Blackwood," someone whispered. Bryn met Devon's gaze. "But some still try." Time cracked open then. Devon did not remember standing, but suddenly he was on his feet. "I'll go." His mother finally looked up. Her eyes were rimmed red, hollow with terror. "No. I'm the fastest rider," Devon said. "Rosco can make it. I can ride day and night. The woods. I know the woods." Bryn stared at him long and hard. "Those woods are haunted by older things than you," she warned. "They will know your purpose. They always do." Devon didn't flinch. "Then they'll know I won't stop." That night, while his family slept fitfully, or didn't sleep at all, Devon packed. A bindle of dried meat and grain cakes. A skin of water. A flint knife sharpened until it sang. A small tent of hide, patched and oiled. He tied charms to Roscoe's bridle, bone, cord, a shard of river stone his sister had once given him for luck. Rosco stomped and snorted softly, sensing fear. Devon rested his forehead against the horse's neck. "You have to run," he whispered. "No matter what you hear. No matter what you see." Before dawn, he kissed each of them. Mara didn't wake. Alric trembled when Devon touched his brow but managed a soft, broken hum, as if memory alone was trying to keep it alive. Their father's eyes opened just once. "Don't look back," Halvor rasped. Devon promised he wouldn't. He mounted Rosco. And as the last lantern light faded behind him, the forest ahead opened its dark mouth. The Blackwood was awake. The Blackwood did not begin all at once. It crept in. The trees grew closer together with every mile, their bark darkening from gray to brown to a wet, lightless black. Moss hung like dead hair from crooked branches. The ground softened, each hoofbeat muffled as though the earth itself were swallowing sound. Rosco slowed without being told. Devon felt it then, that pressure behind the eyes. Like being watched from inside the forest rather than from any single place. The path vanished by midday. Roots twisted across the ground like spines. Stones jutted up at odd angles, carved with marks that were not quite symbols and not quite scratches. Devon recognized none of them, only felt the warning stitched into their curves. He dismounted to let Rosco drink from a narrow stream. That was when he heard the flute. 3 notes. Low. Reedy. Stopping abruptly. Devon froze. The woods held their breath. He turned slowly, hand on his knife. Nothing. Then, movement. A shape leaned out from behind a tree trunk not 30 paces away. At first Devon thought it was a man. Bare chest. Broad shoulders. Long black hair tangled with leaves. Then the legs became visible. Goat legs. Bent wrong, formatted and powerful. Hoofs sunk deep into the wet earth. And above the man's brow. Horns. Not symmetrical. One curled backward smoothly. The other was broken halfway, a jagged stump like a snapped bone. The satyr smiled. It was not a friendly smile. Its eyes were gold-flecked, the pupils too long and too dark. Its mouth was wide, lips pulled back over slightly pointed teeth that looked old and worn down, like something that chewed more than fruit. "You ride fast for someone who smells of death," the satyr said. Its voice sounded like wine through hollow reeds. Rosco screamed. The horse reared, almost throwing Devon. Devon grabbed the reins, hard hammering, knife sliding free in his hand. "Stay back," Devon warned. The satyr laughed. "Oh, I won't touch you," it said. "Not yet." Devon's stomach turned cold. "What are you?" The satyr cocked its head. "I was born when these trees were saplings," it replied. "I learned human speech from watching men die lost in the dark." It lifted the flute to its mouth. Devon didn't think. He lunged for Rosco. The flute screamed. Not music. A shrill, piercing note that drilled straight into Devon's skull. From the woods came movement, not footsteps, but dragging. Scraping. Wet breathing. Shapes shifted behind trees, glimpsed only for half seconds, swollen limbs, pale eyes, hunched backs too many jointed. "They come when I call," the satyr said cheerfully. "The hungry ones. The things that still remember taste." Devon cut Rosco free. "Run," he shouted. Rosco bolted. Branches whipped Devon's face. Roots snagged at the horse's legs. Something brushed Devon's boot, flesh slick and warm but gone instantly. Behind them, something howled. Not an animal sound. A voice forced through a throat that did not belong to it. After miles, after Devon's lungs burned and Rosco foamed with sweat, the sounds faded. Silence returned too quickly. Devon did not stop until nightfall. When he finally made camp, hands shaking as he pitched the tent, he realized something else. The satyr had not chased him. It had let him go. That night, Devon dreamed of horns scratching against the inside of his skull. Part 3, The Second Meeting. The satyr found him again at dusk on the second day. Devon was skinning a hare when applause echoed through the trees. Slow. Mocking. "Well done," the satyr said, stepping into the clearing. "You outran 3 bone-eaters and a mire thing with a child's mouth. That earns you respect." Devon stood, knife dripping. "If you're going to kill me, do it." The satyr tilted its head. "Oh no," it said. "You're not mine to kill." "Then why follow me?" The satyr crouched, hooves cracking a stone. "Because you interest the forest," it said. "And what interests the forest usually breaks." It sniffed the air. "You carry sickness," it said softly. "Not on your skin. In your bloodline." Devon's heart pounded. "My family." "No saving without payment," the satyr interrupted. "That's how it works here." "What payment?" The satyr smiled wider. "That depends how far you get." He played one gentle note on the flute. Far away, something answered. Low. Patient. Waiting. "And Devon," the satyr added, turning away. "Yes. Run faster tomorrow." Then it vanished into the trees. Devon learned the pattern before he learned its meaning. First came the smell. Not rot, not quite. Something sweet and wrong, like crushed berries left to ferment in the sun. It drifted through the blackwood without warning, thick enough to coat the back of the throat. Then the woods went still. Birds vanished. Insects stopped singing. Even the wind seemed to draw inward, curling back into the moss and bark. Rosco felt it every time. The horse would snort, ears pinning flat, hooves stamping once, always once, as if marking a grave. Only then would the satyr appear. The third time he came, Devon was crossing a stretch of low ground where water pooled between skeletal trees. Pale reeds bent under their own weight. Something pale and half-buried watched him from beneath the surface and slowly sank away when he looked too long. The flute note sounded behind him. Just one. Devon didn't turn. "I know," he said through clenched teeth. The satyr chuckled. "You've learned faster than most." Devon tightened his grip on Rosco's reins. "What's coming?" The satyr stepped into view anyway. His horns were wrapped with strips of dried hair, human hair, Devon realized with sick certainty. Some were braided. Some still bore bits of scalp. "A crossing," the satyr said. "A thin place." Devon swallowed. "Thin to what?" The satyr grinned. "To them." As if summoned by the word, the water around the reeds rippled. Hands broke the surface. Too many joints. Too many fingers. Pale arms dragged bodies upward, boneless torsos with faces stretched thin, mouths opening into holes that whispered instead of screamed. Rosco screamed and reared. Devon slashed at one reaching hand and felt cartilage part like soft wood. It made a wet, pleased sound. "They smell your fear," the satyr murmured calmly. "They smell your haste." Devon kicked Rosco forward. The mire things surged after them, dragging themselves with awful patience. One lifted its head and Devon saw a human face stretched over something else, eyes fixed in devotion, lips twitching like it remembered how to pray. The satyr's laughter echoed behind them. When Devon looked back, the satyr was already gone. So were 3 of the creatures. Only torn reeds and churned mud remained, as if something had taken its due. Devon vomited once the ground hardened again. That night, he did not sleep. Part 5, Signs Before Dawn. By the 4th day, Devon stopped counting miles. Pain had become constant. Hunger a dull ache. The only thing that sharpened was fear. Because the satyr came faster now. Closer. He appeared at sunrise, perched on a fallen stone idol with a weathered human face half-eaten by moss. "I was hoping you'd trip," the satyr said idly. "But you didn't." Devon mounted Rosco without responding. The satyr leaned forward. "You should know," he added, "every time you see me, someone dies nearby." Devon froze. "What?" The satyr pointed deeper into the trees. "A hunter camp," he said. 3 men. 1 boy. Devon's breath hitched. "You led the creatures to them." "They were already marked," the satyr replied. "I just let the forest notice." A distant scream cut through the trees. Short. Final. Devon's hands shook violently on the reins. "Why show me?" he demanded. The satyr's smile faded. "So you understand the cost of haste," he said quietly. "You run toward medicine. Others run out of time." Another scream. Then silence. The satyr straightened, suddenly alert. "Oh," he said softly. "They're full." Devon forced Rosco into motion, tears streaking dirt down his face. Behind him, the satyr whispered, "Next time, it may be someone you love." Part 6, The Omen Made Flesh. The 6th time Devon sensed the satyr, he didn't see him. He saw blood. A deer stood in the path ahead, perfectly still. Its stomach was split open, organs spilling neatly onto the ground as if arranged by careful hands. Pinned to the tree behind it. A child's shoe. Devon backed away slowly. The flute sounded inside his head. "You can still turn back," the satyr's voice murmured without a body. "Run home. Be there when they stop breathing." Devon screamed and drove Rosco forward. From the trees leapt something tall, too tall, its body wrapped in stretched hide stitched together, antlers branching like a crown. Its head snapped toward him, nostrils flaring. It roared. The sound ripped bark from trees. The satyr finally appeared, standing behind the thing, resting a hand on its shoulder like a proud handler. "Every omen needs teeth," he whispered. The chase that followed left Devon bleeding and Rosco limping. By the time they escaped, the sun was gone. So was part of Rosco's mane, chewed or torn clean away. Devon sobbed into the horse's neck. "We're not fast enough," he whispered. Somewhere nearby, the satyr watched. Patient. Waiting for the next sign to fulfill. Devon never slept through the night again. The first time he made camp in the Blackwood, he chose the place carefully. No obvious paths. No standing stones. No dead animals pinned like warnings. Just a shallow hollow between 3 old trees whose roots rose like ribs from the ground. He told himself that was good enough. He was wrong. He rubbed Rosco down until the horse stopped trembling, then tethered him close enough that Devon could hear every breath, every frightened stamp of hoof. The knowledge that Rosco was there, alive, warm, real, was the only thing keeping Devon's thoughts from snapping. The fire stayed small. Too much flame drew attention. The tent went up last. The hide creaked as he stretched it over the poles. Something about the sound made his skin crawl, like stretching dried skin over bone. He slid inside and pulled the flap shut. Instant darkness. The sounds of the forest returned slowly, reluctantly. Leaves whispering. A distant owl calling, once. Twice. Silence. Devon lay on his back, knife in hand, bindle pressed against his ribs. His chest hurt from holding breath he didn't realize he was still holding. Just sleep, he told himself. Wake before dawn. Ride. Something exhaled outside the tent. Not wind. Breath. Slow. Curious. Devon froze. The canvas dented inward slightly, as if touched by fingertips from the outside. One finger. Then two. The shape dragged slowly downward. Devon clamped a hand over his mouth, heart roaring in his ears. Something circled the tent. Its footfalls were wrong, uneven, dragging one moment, too light the next. At times it stopped so close that Devon could feel warmth bleeding through the hide. A voice whispered. Not words. Just almost words. Like something remembering how language worked. The whisper moved along the tent wall, tracing Devon's outline by sound alone. Then came the giggling. High-pitched. Childlike. Devon squeezed his eyes shut. Go away. Please. The giggling cut off abruptly. A shadow passed between the fire and the tent, tall, stretched thin, head tilted far too far to one side. Something scratched at the canvas. Not ripping. Testing. 3 slow scratches. Pause. 3 more. Then a thud, heavy, deliberate, as a body leaned its full weight against the tent wall. The pole bowed inward. Devon screamed and slashed blindly through the hide. The blade met nothing. The pressure vanished instantly, as if the thing had never been there at all. Outside, Rosco screamed and reared so hard the tether rope snapped taut. Then silence. Dead silence. Devon stayed awake until dawn, shaking so badly he bit down on leather to keep from crying out and drawing whatever that was back again. When morning came, he stepped outside. Around the tent were footprints. Bare. Human-shaped. Too many toes. All pointing inward. The second night, Devon tried something different. He pushed farther than his body wanted to go, riding until the sky bled out all its color. When he finally stopped, he cleared brush aggressively, stamped ash around the tent, and hung bone charms from low branches. We can do this, he whispered to Rosco as he set the fire. Just one night at a time. He didn't hear the flute. He felt it. A vibration in the chest, like a plucked nerve. Devon turned slowly. The satyr sat on a log across the fire. Just sitting. Hands resting on his knees, eyes reflecting flame like a beast's. Devon's blood turned to ice. You didn't hear me, the satyr said pleasantly. That's bad. Devon didn't answer. The satyr leaned forward, elbows on thighs. They like tents, he continued. Soft walls. Thin promises. The woods shifted uneasily. Movement everywhere now, fleeting shapes ducking behind trees, crouching just beyond the firelight. How many? Devon asked quietly. The satyr tilted his head. All of them. The fire guttered. Something crawled forward on all fours, ribs showing beneath translucent skin, jaw hanging loose like it barely remembered how to stay attached. Another followed. Then another. They stopped just outside the circle of firelight, eyes reflecting dull and wet. The satyr sighed. I should warn you, he said. They don't fear fire. They fear being seen. The fire went out. Darkness slammed down like a lid. Hands grabbed the tent. Dozens of them. Pressing. Pulling. Clawing. The canvas stretched and groaned. Something sniffed loudly near Devon's head, breath hot and sour. Another thing slammed bodily into the side of the tent, collapsing a pole. Devon screamed as the world shifted sideways. Outside, Rosco shrieked in terror. Devon burst out of the torn tent, knife flashing wildly. Creatures scattered, melting into shadow, retreating just far enough to watch. In the chaos, he saw it. The satyr, standing now. Watching calmly. "This is the price of night," the satyr said. "And you still owe the forest. What do you want from me?" Devon screamed. The satyr's smile was thin. "To see how much you'll lose," he said. "Before you decide who deserves saving." The creatures surged again. Devon mounted Rosco bareback and fled into the dark, branches tearing at his skin, hooves pounding blind. Behind them, the satyr's flute played a slow, drifting tune, not chasing, not guiding. Counting. Part 9, No Safe Sleep. After that, Devon stopped trusting darkness at all. Sleep came in stolen moments, slumped against Roscoe's side, eyes snapping open at every sound. Sometimes he heard Mara's voice calling his name from beyond the trees. Sometimes he felt Ulrich's small hand tugging his sleeve from inside the tent. Once, he woke to find the tent flap neatly tied shut from the outside. And carved into the tree nearest his head. A symbol he hadn't seen before. Horns. Every night, something came. And every time he survived, the satyr appeared the next day. Watching. Measuring. Waiting for the night that finally took more than fear. Devon did not choose the place. That was the first mistake. Exhaustion finally won somewhere deep in the blackwood where the trees leaned inward as if listening to each other. The sky vanished behind interlocking branches, and even the moonlight could not find the ground. Devon slid from Roscoe's back and nearly collapsed. His legs had forgotten how to work. "I need one night," he whispered, more plea than decision. Rosco snorted softly, eyes rolling white, foam dried at the edges of his mouth. Devon didn't bother with charms. Didn't bother with fire. He raised the tent with shaking hands and crawled inside like a wounded animal crawling into a burrow, pulling the flap closed and tying it tight. Darkness. Total. Immediate. The forest did not settle. That was wrong. Usually there was the slow return of sound, insects testing the air, a cautious owl, the distant creak of branches. Tonight there was nothing. Devon lay on his back, knife across his chest, heart slamming so hard it hurt. "If I sleep," his mind whispered, "something will wake me." Time slid strangely. Too fast and too slow at once. Then. Footsteps. Not circling. Approaching. Devon held his breath. The steps stopped directly in front of the tent. A pause. Then the sound of hooves. 2 of them. Unmistakable. Devon squeezed his eyes shut. "No," he whispered. The tent flap loosened. The knot did not untie. It simply fell apart, cords unraveling like rotten fiber. The flap lifted. Something tall ducked under the canvas. The satyr stepped inside. The space felt instantly smaller. The air went thick and warm, reeking of old wine, moss, and something coppery beneath it all. His horns brushed the hide overhead, making the tent creak ominously. He straightened slowly. There was barely room for him, which made how easily he fit far worse. "Well," the satyr said gently. "You finally let me in." Devon bolted upright, knife raised. "Get out." The satyr chuckled softly, closing the flap behind him. Darkness folded around them. "I can see perfectly," the satyr added, as if reading Devon's thought. "You, on the other hand, Not so much. Devon slashed. The blade meant nothing. The satyr was suddenly kneeling beside him. Too close. Devon smelled rot on his breath. I don't hurt what hasn't broken yet, the satyr whispered. Relax. Devon's body refused. His muscles shook uncontrollably. You don't belong in here, Devon said through clenched teeth. This is my shelter. The satyr's smile faded. No, he said quietly. This is mine. The tent shuddered. From outside came movement, dozens of bodies shifting in the dark, pressing close enough that their combined heat passed through the canvas. Devon heard paws. Hands. Something wet slithering along the ground. They're waiting, the satyr said. I told them not to touch until I finish talking. Devon swallowed hard. What do you want? The satyr studied him for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice was almost kind. Your family is dying, he said. You know that. Even if you reach the stone village, even if the medicine works, one dose will not cure what has nested in their blood. Devon's breath hitched. There's enough, he said desperately. They said there was enough. They lied, the satyr replied. Or believed a prettier story. The satyr leaned closer. You must choose, he said softly. Who lives? Devon shook his head violently. No. One life may be saved without payment, the satyr continued. Two with suffering. More than that. He smiled, showing teeth. Something must replace them. The tent wall bulged inward as something heavy leaned against it. A fingernail scraped slowly along the canvas. Devon felt his mind beginning to fray. My brother, he whispered. Please. He doesn't understand. Oh, he understands more than you think, the satyr said, eyes gleaming faintly in the dark. He hears what walks between breaths. He hums to keep them calm. Devon broke. A sob tore free. I'll give anything, he said. Just let me get the medicine. The satyr reached out. One finger pressed gently against Devon's chest. Cold. Burning. Good, the satyr murmured. Then listen carefully. Outside, the creatures stirred. From now on, the satyr said, every night you sleep, something will come for you. If you rest too long, you die. If you don't rest at all, you slow, and they catch you. He withdrew his hand. But if you reach the village before the final night. He stood. The tent seemed to relax as he did, like it had been holding its breath. I'll collect payment from someone else. Devon whispered, who? The satyr opened the flap. Whoever answers when I knock. Then he was gone. The pressure outside eased. The forest exhaled. Devon collapsed, gasping, tears soaking the dirt beneath him. He did not sleep again that night. At dawn, he found a mark burned into his chest where the satyr had touched him. Horns. Morning came gray and brittle. Devon rose stiffly, joints aching like his body had been beaten with clubs. He rolled his shoulders, stretching scarred muscle beneath skin mapped with old fights, broken noses given and taken, teeth loosened, knuckles permanently thickened from years of survival brawls. He was not a gentleman. In his village, when animals went rabid or men lost control, they sent for Devon. Making him run had always felt impossible. Yet here, in the Blackwood, he felt small. He punched a dead tree once just to remind himself what his body could do. The bark exploded inward. Sap bled like dark honey. Good. Rosco snorted approvingly. Something watched from the trees and did not retreat. Devon felt the mark on his chest itch, the burned horn symbol prickling like a living thing. The first thing he kills. It came at dusk. Devon was tightening Roscoe's tack when the undergrowth burst. A creature launched itself at him, fast and low. Devon reacted without thought. He stepped into it. One massive hand caught the thing by the throat, the other by its upper arm. It was lighter than expected, corded muscle under stretched skin, bones too long and fragile. Its face was human once. Not anymore. Devon slammed it into a tree hard enough to crack ribs. It shrieked, an infant's cry shoved through adult lungs. Wrong one, Devon growled. He drove his knee upward. Once. Twice. Something popped soft and wet. When the creature tried to claw his face, Devon bit its fingers clean off and spit them into the leaves. The third knee ended it. Devon stood breathing hard, hands slick with blackened blood. He expected fear. What he felt instead was fury. So much of it that his hands shook. That's how it ends when you touch me, he told the forest. Laughter drifted through the trees. Slow. Quiet. The satyr clapped. Good, he called. Very good. Devon turned slowly. The satyr leaned against a tree, relaxed, amused. You should kill, the satyr said. Strong men do better when the forest finally decides to break them. What are you? Devon snarled. The satyr's eyes lingered on Devon's arms, his shoulders, the way he stood balanced without thinking. A measure, he replied. To see how much violence a man can hold before it spills in the wrong direction. The satyr vanished. The corpse remained, already dissolving, melting backward into bark and roots. Devon wiped his hands on leaves that turned gray at his touch. Night, when strength isn't enough. That night, Devon did not use a tent. He slept sitting against a tree, knife in hand, body coiled tight as a loaded spring. Something came anyway. Hands grabbed him from behind. Devon exploded into motion, elbow back, skull cracked, fingers bent until joints reversed. He ripped one attacker off him and threw it hard enough that it folded around a trunk. Another latched onto his arm, teeth sinking deep. Devon roared and headbutted. Bone shattered. More came. Too many. Strength worked, but only briefly. They learned. They stayed just out of reach, dragging branches through fire embers, whispering his name like a prayer gone wrong. Devon stood bleeding until dawn, never once sitting down again. By morning, his arms trembled. The forest had learned something too. Big men got tired. The omen watches the fighter. Later that day, Devon found the satyr sitting on a stone, sharpening his flute with a shard of bone. You could break most of them, the satyr said conversationally. But they don't need to kill you. They only need you slow. Devon loomed over him. Why not take me, he demanded. Why torture me like this? The satyr smiled up at him. Because men like you believe strength means choice, he said. And nothing entertains the old ones more than taking that belief apart. He rose, horns catching light through the branches. By the end, the satyr added softly, you'll still be powerful. Devon felt his chest tighten. But you won't know who deserves it. The satyr walked away. Behind Devon, something heavy cracked a branch. Waiting. By the seventh day, Devon's body told a new truth. He was still strong, devastatingly so, but the strength no longer came cleanly. Every motion carried weight behind it. Every fight stole something permanent. His knuckles were split open, never fully closing. One eye swelled half shut from a blow he didn't remember taking. Bite marks dimpled his forearms, raw and blackened, refusing to heal properly. He rode anyway. Rosco limped now, favoring his left rear leg. Devon adjusted the saddle padding, whispered apologies into his mane, fed him the last of the grain without touching any himself. I'll eat when you rest, Devon lied. The blackwood thinned briefly into a corridor of stone and dead leaves, an old road laid by forgotten hands. Devon recognized the trick immediately. Straight paths were never safe. The satyr stood in the middle of it, just waiting. Horses shouldn't bleed, the satyr remarked casually, nodding at Rosco's leg. But everything bleeds eventually. Devon dismounted smoothly, towering over him. Get out of my way. The satyr didn't move. You're slowing, he said. That means the real ones will come soon. Devon's jaw clenched. Tell them to try. Oh, no, the satyr replied. You've already invited them. The forest shifted. Trees bowed. Stone cracked. The ground itself seemed to draw downward. Something vast moved beneath the earth. Devon felt it in his bones before he saw it, a pressure that vibrated through marrow and teeth. Then the ground split. The thing that rose was not shaped for speed. It was shaped for inevitability. Its body was massive, layered with bark-like plates fused with bone. Antlers spiraled outward and upward, breaking branches as it moved. Its head lowered on a thick neck, nostrils flaring as it tasted the air. Eyes opened. Not too many. Set deep throughout its skull and shoulders, blinking independently. Devon didn't run. He planted his feet. The creature's gaze settled on him. It took one heavy step forward. Devon charged. The impact thundered through the forest. His shoulder buried into armor-hard flesh, cracking something deep inside the beast. Devon wrapped both arms around one of its forward limbs and wrenched. Muscle tore. Sap blood gushed. The thing roared, a sound that flattened leaves for yards. Devon punched. Once. Twice. A third blow landed against its skull and nearly broke Devon's hand. The satyr watched intently. The creature learned. A massive limb slammed downward. Devon rolled, but not fast enough. The edge of the strike crushed his thigh. Pain exploded white-hot through his vision. Devon screamed and stabbed upward into a cluster of eyes, twisting the blade. Sight burst like fruit. The creature staggered back, confused, furious. Devon dragged himself upright, legs screaming, blood soaking his trousers. The beast hesitated. Then, astonishingly, withdrew. It backed into the trees, wounded but alive, vanishing into undergrowth too small for its frame. The forest went still. Devon collapsed to one knee, gasping. The satyr exhaled softly. Oh, he said with something like reverence. You heard it. Devon growled and forced himself up. The satyr studied him now with new interest. Strong enough to anger it, the satyr continued. Not strong enough to end it. Devon wiped blood from his mouth. Then it'll come back. Yes, the satyr agreed. Smarter. Part 13, Night Without Fire. Devon could not light a fire that night. Every spark died instantly, smothered by heavy, unmoving air. The darkness pressed inward until even Rosco refused to lie down. Devon erected the tent with one leg shaking badly. His thigh throbbed in time with his heart. He dragged himself inside and wrapped the wound as best he could, teeth clenched hard enough to crack. Outside, the forest began to walk. Slow steps. Heavy breathing. Branches snapped under weight not built for stealth. Devon lay on his side, knife ready, unable to stand. The tent wall bulged inward. A horn tip pierced the canvas. Then withdrew. Something sniffed loudly. The satyr's voice whispered from somewhere near Devon's ear. You can't fight this one lying down. Devon snarled. Then help me. The satyr appeared, crouched impossibly within the tent again, shadows folding around him. I help moments, he replied. Not outcomes. The creature slammed into the tent. Poles shattered. Canvas collapsed over Devon and Rosco, entangling them both. Devon ripped free, roared, and drove his blade deep into whatever flesh presented itself. The thing recoiled, screaming, a massive, echoing sound that made Devon's skull ring. It did not retreat. It settled. Waiting. Devon realized then, with cold clarity, that it didn't need to attack again. It would wait until exhaustion finished what it started. Devon pressed his forehead to Roscoe's neck, breath ragged. I'm sorry, he whispered. I need you tomorrow. Rosco huffed weakly. The satyr stood outside the ruined tent now, silhouetted. You'll reach the stone village, he said quietly. Barely. And my family? Devon demanded. The satyr looked away. They'll still be breathing, he said. That's all I can promise. The massive creature shifted nearby, settling into the earth like a mountain choosing a place to sleep. Devon stayed awake the entire night, staring into blackness, knowing that even giants could learn patience. Devon knew before morning broke that Rosco was marked. It wasn't intuition. It was structure. The forest shifted around them in a way Devon recognized from fights, the slow tightening, the slide into angles where movement became limited, where retreat cost more than advance. That way predators move. Rosco refused to drink. His ears stayed pinned back, nostrils flaring as if he smelled something Devon couldn't. When Devon pressed his forehead to the horse's cheek, he felt the tremor there, not fear alone, but recognition. They want you, Devon murmured. The imprint burned on his chest, pulsed once. Horns. Devon mounted with effort, thigh screaming. Every jolt sent pain up into his spine, but he stayed upright. Falling would mean death, not dramatic death, not heroic death, just being taken apart slowly. They heard it after the first mile. Hooves. Not Roscoe's. Too many. Running parallel through the trees, never fully visible. Sometimes Devon caught flashes of pale muscle or antlered silhouettes pacing them just out of sight, their speed perfectly matched. Driving, not chasing. Devon angled off the path. The pacing hooves adjusted instantly. Fine, Devon growled. Then we fight. He reined Rosco hard to the side, slid off even as the horse skidded, and turned to face the forest squarely. I'm not running, he roared. Come get me. The woods answered. A creature burst from the undergrowth, low and fast, all ribs and slavering jaws. Devon met it head-on, catching its skull in both hands and twisting until the neck went slack. Another followed. Then another. Devon fought like a thing carved for war. He used his weight, his reach, the brutal economy of someone who'd learned violence early. Knives flashed. Bones broke. Blood sprayed black and hot. For a moment, a terrible, exhilarating moment, it worked. Then something screamed. A high, tearing sound, not pain, not rage, but signal. Everything stopped. The forest went quiet, as if holding a single breath. Devon felt it instantly. The shift. The rules had changed. From deeper in the trees came something heavier, moving slow, deliberate. Devon smelled iron and old fur. The satyr appeared beside Rosco. Just appeared. You've proved your point, he said lightly. Now they'll take something back. Devon turned on him, bloody and shaking. Don't. The satyr cocked his head. You can't outrun night on a broken leg, fighter. The thing in the tree stepped closer. Devon understood. No, he whispered. Rosco screamed. Something lunged from the dark, antlers, teeth, weight. Devon hurled himself between it and the horse. The impact crushed him sideways. He slammed into a tree hard enough to knock the air from his lungs. Pain shattered through him as the creature rebounded, confused by resistance. Devon forced himself up. Blood streamed down his face. Rosco was still screaming. Devon grabbed the reins, wrapped them around his forearm, and yanked, dragging the horse forward with raw strength. "Run!" Rosco bolted. Devon didn't try to keep up. He turned and charged the antlered thing instead. The satyr did not smile this time. The beast struck Devon squarely. The world went white. Part 15: The Price of Speed. Devon woke to silence. Not forest silence. Human silence. He lay on stone, smooth beneath his palms. For a wild, hopeful second, he thought he'd reached the village. Then he tried to move. Fire ripped through his leg. Devon roared and tried again, only managed a few inches before his body screamed enough. He looked down. His thigh was bound with thick cords of bark fiber slick with blood. The flesh beneath bulged wrong. Broken. Badly. Rosco lay nearby. Alive. Breathing shallow. One of his antlers, no, horns, was gone. Devon's vision swam. The satyr squatted across from him, elbows on knees. "You traded well," the satyr said. Devon's throat worked. "You took his horn." The satyr nodded. "A piece." They wanted the horse whole. Devon clenched his fists, veins standing out thick as rope. "You could have stopped it." "Yes." "Why didn't you?" The satyr met his gaze, something cold in his eyes now. "You chose speed over completeness," he said. "So did they." Devon shoved himself upright, pain be damned. "I'm not finished." The satyr studied him. "I know," he said quietly. "That's why I warned them not to kill you." Devon froze. "Warned who?" The satyr stood. "The sickness," he replied. "It listens." The forest shifted uneasily. "The disease in your family isn't random," the satyr continued. "It's migration." Devon felt sick. "It's moving toward something older," the satyr said. "Your village just happened to be in the way." Devon swallowed hard. "The medicine," he said. "It still works." The satyr smiled, slow and humorless. "It delays," he corrected. "It redirects." Devon stared at Rosco's ruined horn, then at his own broken body. "Then why am I running?" The satyr leaned down until his horns nearly touched the symbols burned into Devon's chest. "Because you're strong enough to carry the new burden," he whispered. Then he stepped back. "You'll reach the stone village tomorrow night," he said. "If you're willing to leave pieces of yourself behind." Devon dragged himself upright, leaned on Rosco, and forced weight onto his shattered leg. It held. Barely. "Then we move," Devon growled. Something screamed in the woods, furious, denied. The stone village rose from the forest like a wound that never healed. It wasn't hidden. That was the first wrong thing about it. The trees ended abruptly, pulled back as if in unwilling obedience, leaving a wide clearing of pale stone and low, circular structures stacked without mortar. Each stone was engraved, spirals, eyes, antlers, hands, worn smooth by centuries of touch. Devon smelled ash and old herbs. And people. Too quiet. Too still. Rosco limped into the clearing, breath rattling. Devon slid down from the saddle and nearly collapsed, catching himself against the horse's shoulder. His leg had gone numb, not blessed numbness, but the dangerous kind. Figures stepped out from the stone dwellings. Men and women, aged beyond counting. Tall. Lean. Scarred in deliberate ways. Their eyes followed Devon not with surprise, but with recognition. One of them spoke. "You are late, Devon of the Forest Village." Devon stiffened. "You know my name." The speaker was a woman whose hair was white but whose posture was unbent. Around her neck hung a bone flute. "Like the satyrs. We know all names that are carried by desperation," she said calmly. "Come. Sit before you fall." Devon didn't argue. Two men helped him lower himself to a stone bench that radiated faint warmth, like it remembered fire. "Where is the medicine?" Devon demanded. "My family is dying." The woman nodded. "Yes." Her mouth tightened. "And they will continue to die," she added. Devon's hand clenched around his knife. "Don't lie to me." "We don't," she replied. "We prepare." She gestured toward a low structure at the center of the village, its doorway sealed with heavy leather curtains. A low sound drifted from inside. Breathing. Devon felt cold. "What is that?" The villagers shifted uneasily. The woman met his gaze. "Our burden," she said. "And yours, if you accept it." Part 17, The Medicine Breathes. Inside the structure, the air was warm and damp. The scent hit first, copper, herbs, decay held carefully at bay. Chained to the stone floor was a thing shaped almost like a man. Once, Devon realized, it had been one. Its body was swollen, skin split and resewn repeatedly, organs rearranged beneath translucent layers. Tubes of bone and hollow reed ran from its torso into stone basins where thick, dark fluid slowly dripped. The medicine. The thing's eyes snapped open when Devon entered. They were Alric's eyes. Devon reeled. "No," he whispered. The creature convulsed slightly, chains rattling. "It hears through blood," the woman said softly behind him. "It shows what binds you deepest." Devon turned on her. "This is wrong." "Yes," she agreed. "That's why it works." She knelt beside him. "The sickness your family carries is not a plague," she said. "It is an ancient migration of spirit, something moving toward incarnation." Devon's heart pounded. "We trap it here," she continued. "Divert it. Feed it pieces of people who volunteer. You torture it. We sustain it," she corrected. "So others may live." Devon shook his head violently. "How much?" he demanded. The woman didn't hesitate. "One life for one," she said. "Or one strong soul to contain many." Devon understood then. The medicine was not meant for villages. It was meant for champions. The satyr's words echoed. "You're strong enough to carry the new burden." "No," Devon said. The villagers stepped back. The air grew heavy. Something moved behind Devon. Hooves on stone. The satyr wandered casually inside, flute draped over his shoulder. "Well done," he said cheerfully. "You made them nervous." Devon spun. "You were here." "First," the satyr replied. "Long ago. I taught them what survives and what feeds." Devon's hands shook. "This thing," Devon said, pointing at the chained creature, "this is where my family's sickness is going." The satyr nodded. "Or into you." Silence thundered. Devon looked down at his broken leg, at Rosco waiting outside, bleeding but alive, at the faces of villagers who had already paid their price. "If I take it," Devon said carefully, "my family lives." The woman nodded. "For now." "And I become this." "Eventually." The satyr crouched beside him. "Or," he whispered, "you break the cycle." Devon's breath hitched. How? The satyr smiled, sad, for the first time. You let it finish migrating. The stone village rose from the forest like a wound that never healed. It wasn't hidden. That was the first wrong thing about it. The trees ended abruptly, pulled back as if in unwilling obedience, leaving a wide clearing of pale stone and low, circular structures stacked without mortar. Each stone was engraved, spirals, eyes, antlers, hands, worn smooth by centuries of touch. Devon smelled ash and old herbs. And people. Too quiet. Too still. Rosco limped into the clearing, breath rattling. Devon slid down from the saddle and nearly collapsed, catching himself against the horse's shoulder. His leg had gone numb, not blessed numbness, but the dangerous kind. Figures stepped out from the stone dwellings. Men and women, aged beyond counting. Tall. Lean. Scarred in deliberate ways. Their eyes followed Devon not with surprise, but with recognition. One of them spoke. You are late, Devon of the forest village. Devon stiffened. You know my name. The speaker was a woman whose hair was white but whose posture was unbent. Around her neck hung a bone flute. Like the satyr's. We know all names that are carried by desperation, she said calmly. Come. Sit before you fall. Devon didn't argue. Two men helped him lower himself to a stone bench that radiated faint warmth, like it remembered fire. Where is the medicine? Devon demanded. My family is dying. The woman nodded. Yes. Her mouth tightened. And they will continue to die, she added. Devon's hand clenched around his knife. Don't lie to me. We don't, she replied. We prepare. She gestured toward a low structure at the center of the village, its doorway sealed with heavy leather curtains. A low sound drifted from inside. Breathing. Devon felt cold. What is that? The villagers shifted uneasily. The woman met his gaze. Our burden, she said. And yours, if you accept it. Part 17, The Medicine Breathes. Inside the structure, the air was warm and damp. The scent hit first, copper, herbs, decay held carefully at bay. Chained to the stone floor was a thing shaped almost like a man. Once, Devon realized, it had been one. Its body was swollen, skin split and resewn repeatedly, organs rearranged beneath translucent layers. Tubes of bone and hollow reed ran from its torso into stone basins where thick, dark fluid slowly dripped. The medicine. The thing's eyes snapped open when Devon entered. They were Alric's eyes. Devon reeled. No, he whispered. The creature convulsed slightly, chains rattling. It hears through blood, the woman said softly behind him. It shows what binds you deepest. Devon turned on her. This is wrong. Yes, she agreed. That's why it works. She knelt beside him. The sickness your family carries is not a plague, she said. It is an ancient migration of spirit, something moving toward incarnation. Devon's heart pounded. We trap it here, she continued. Divert it. Feed it pieces of people who volunteer. You torture it. We sustain it, she corrected. So others may live. Devon shook his head violently. How much? He demanded. The woman didn't hesitate. One life for one, she said. Or one strong soul to contain many. Devon understood then. The medicine was not meant for villages. It was meant for champions. The satyr's words echoed. You're strong enough to carry the new burden. No, Devon said. The villagers stepped back. The air grew heavy. Something moved behind Devon. Hooves on stone. The satyr wandered casually inside, flute draped over his shoulder. "Well done," he said cheerfully. "You made them nervous." Devon spun. "You were here first," the satyr replied. "Long ago. I taught them what survives and what feeds." Devon's hands shook. "This thing," Devon said, pointing at the chained creature, "this is where my family's sickness is going." The satyr nodded. "Or into you." Silence thundered. Devon looked down at his broken leg, at Rosco waiting outside, bleeding but alive, at the faces of villagers who had already paid their price. "If I take it," Devon said carefully, "my family lives." The woman nodded. "For now." "And I become this?" "Eventually." The satyr crouched beside him. "Or," he whispered, "you break the cycle." Devon's breath hitched. "How?" The satyr smiled, sad, for the first time. "You let it finish migrating." They gave Devon the night. Stone walls. Silent villagers. The distant wet breathing of the chained thing pulsing in time with Devon's heart. Devon sat alone. 6 feet 5 inches, 240 pounds. A fighter in any age. Scarred. Broken. Still standing. And very, very tired. He thought of Mara's laugh. Alric's humming. Roscoe's steady breath when everything else went wrong. By dawn, Devon rose. "I'll take it," he said. Relief crossed the woman's face. The satyr stiffened. "You're certain?" Devon nodded. "There's something it doesn't know how to do," Devon said. "Something I can." They chained Devon beside the thing. Opened the conduits. Pain unlike anything he'd known filled him, not tearing, not burning, but crowding. His thoughts thickened. His breath doubled. A presence pressed inward, testing him from every angle. Devon roared. Strained. Fought. Held. The thing screamed. Stone cracked. The satyr shouted something old and frightened. Devon pushed back. He didn't contain it. He grappled it. Used will like muscle. Used pain like leverage. Used love like a weapon. The sickness tore free, not fully born, not redirected, and fled screaming into the earth. The conduits shattered. The chained thing went limp. Dead. Devon collapsed. Epilogue, the men who walked back. Devon made it home. Barely. Months later. Limps don't go away like fevers do. Mara ran to him. Alric hummed. Their mother wept. Their father lived. But Devon did not sleep in houses anymore. Sometimes, in the woods beyond the village, someone heard a flute. Sometimes, monsters avoided the paths near Devon's home. Sometimes, at night, Devon stood very still and felt something old and angry remembering his strength. And very far away, in the blackwood, a satyr carved a new mark into stone. Horns. Crossed out. The satyr. Origin of the omen. Before villages needed medicine, before forests learned to hunt, before Devon's bloodline had a name, there was a man who refused to die. His name was Thyron. Thyron lived when gods still answered honestly, not kindly, but clearly. He was a hunter first, a protector second, and a weapon always. His people survived because Thyron did what others would not, he went where the forest said don't. He was as large as Devon would one day be. Broader, even. Built for famine winters and bad ground. When sickness came for his people, he did what men always do. He ran. The first bargain. The forest was young then. Hungry, but not clever. Thyron traced the sickness to a place where trees grew twisted and the earth rang hollow. There he found something trying to be born, not fully physical, not fully spirit. It spoke with the voices of the dying. Feed me, it begged. Carry me. Thyron refused. Instead, he offered a hunt. He bound the thing inside himself, muscle, bone, rage, will, and held it long enough to drag it to a stone basin carved by forgotten hands. He chained it. He bled into it. It screamed, but it stayed. His people lived. Thyron did not. Something else did. When gods intervened. The gods came late. They always do. They looked at Thyron and saw men who had done what should have required many lives, not one. They were offended, not by cruelty, but by efficiency. No man may decide who takes the burden, they said. No man may survive what ends myths. So they changed him. Not into a monster. Into a reminder. The making of the satyr. They broke Thyron's body in half, not violently, but conceptually. His strength stayed. His humanity bent. They fused him to the forest, goat legs for endurance, hooves for endless travel. Horns grown not as weapons, but as antennas to hear movement between worlds. They left him immortal enough to remember every failure. They stripped his name. You will not kill, the gods decreed. You will not save. You will warn. And that was the cruelest punishment of all. The rule of omens. The forest learned to obey him, not because he commanded it, but because his presence preceded consequence. When the satyr appeared, something bad followed. Not always death. Not always violence. Loss. He couldn't stop it. He couldn't change it. He could only show others what price approached. Every scream after his flute was one he heard first. Every tent torn open was one he might have once protected. Over centuries, he stopped trying to explain. Stopped pleading. Started joking. Started smiling. Because watching people hope after seeing him was unbearable. Why he followed Devon. Devon frightened him. Not because Devon was stronger, but because Devon was similar. A large fighter. A man who used pain as a tool instead of an end. A protector who ran towards sickness instead of away. Devon did what Thyron couldn't. He ended migration without becoming its jailer. The satyr watched that moment with something dangerously close to relief. That's why the mark on stone was crossed out. Not erased. Corrected. What the satyr is now. He isn't free. But he isn't bound to the old rules anymore. Sometimes he guides monsters away from places they don't belong. Sometimes he lets them through. Sometimes he stands at edges, camps, doors, paths, and waits to see who chooses to go anyway. If he follows you more than once, it means something is coming that requires strength beyond survival. And if he ever stops appearing, it means the cost has already been paid. Devon knew the satyr was there before he saw him. It always happened the same way. The woods didn't go silent, they listened. Leaves held their breath. The ground felt tighter beneath his boots, like it remembered weight. Devon stood at the tree line behind his village, leaning on the old ash spear he no longer needed but still carried out of habit. His hair was threaded with gray now. His limp was permanent. His shoulders were still broad, still dangerous, but settled, like a weapon finally placed back on a rack. You could stop announcing yourself, Devon said without turning. A soft chuckle came from behind him. If I did, you'd wonder why everything felt wrong, the satyr replied. Hooves crunched softly on leaf litter. Devon turned at last. The satyr looked lesser. Not weaker, never that, but thinner somehow. His horns were duller, less jagged. The gold in his eyes was dimmed, like embers buried under ash. You're late, Devon said. I took a longer way, the satyr replied. The forest doesn't pull me like it used to. They stood in silence for a while. Wind slid through branches above them. Somewhere, a child laughed inside the village. Devon spoke first. They're healthy, he said. All of them. The satyr nodded. I know. No sickness, Devon continued. No migration. No whispers in the blood. I know. Devon turned fully now, towering even with the years carved out of him. Then why are you still here? The satyr smiled, not his old crooked omen smile, but something closer to relief. To say thank you, he said. And goodbye. Devon blinked. That doesn't sound like you. I'm not supposed to sound like anything anymore, the satyr replied quietly. He stepped closer, until they stood nearly face to face. You did what I never could, the satyr said. You fought it without binding it. You ended it without replacing it. You proved the gods wrong. Devon snorted. Didn't feel like proving anything. Just didn't want a cage with my name on it. The satyr laughed softly at that. Still a fighter, he said. Even when you walk away. Devon studied him. What happens to you now? The satyr looked past him, into the forest. I get smaller, he said. Every year. Every choice that isn't fate tightening, I lose a little more. That's freedom? Devon asked. The satyr considered it. It's mortality, he said. I think freedom comes later. Devon nodded slowly. You won't be an omen anymore. No, the satyr agreed. If I show up now, it'll just be because I chose to. They stood together as dusk deepened. Devon's voice softened. You followed me because you were afraid I'd become you. Yes. And? The satyr met his eyes. You didn't. They shared a long silence after that, not heavy, not strained. Just full. At last, Devon reached up and touched the burned mark on his chest. It had faded over the years, but the shape was still there. You ever think about staying? Devon asked. Living like a man instead of a warning. The satyr smiled gently. I already did, he said. For a moment. A long time ago. He stepped back. When you hear a flute now, he added, it won't mean danger. And if I don't hear it? The satyr's smile turned wry. Then it means the world learned something. He turned toward the trees. Hey, Devon said. The satyr paused. You did good, Devon said simply. For a moment, the satyr looked dangerously close to human again. Then he inclined his head, not a bow, not submission. Respect. And he walked into the woods. The forest did not follow him. Devon stood a long time after, listening to nothing at all. Then he turned back toward home. Toward laughter. Toward a village that would never know how close it came to being a story instead of a place. And far away, beyond gods and forests and old bargains, something ancient took note, not with anger, but with interest. Because the world had changed. And it hadn't been prepared.